Mhm. We are live. Yes, we are. Hello. Welcome, everybody. It is a beautiful, sunny Wednesday. Yes, or whenever you are watching it, since I know lots of folks like to watch after the fact. I'm Claire Wasserman, founder and author of Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational platform, global community, and a book all about helping women earn more and live better. And as part of that mission, we invite some of the world's best coaches and interesting women to join us to kind of share their part of that work. And Melissa absolutely is one of those people. She's a Ladies Get Paid member. She's also a money coach. She does more than just that. She is the expert on her. So I am going to have her go into detail with exactly what she does. But just so you all know what the point of the conversation is today, it's about creating God, how can I say this? Predictability with your money. So, how do you plan for quarterly annual costs? Things that people tend to forget about, just getting into like a really comfortable cash flow situation. I think this is so important all the time, but especially now when we're seeing, a fair number of layoffs, at least in the tech sector. So, Melissa, thank you so much for being here. I would love it if you could go into a little bit more detail about all the things you do. Yes, your money work, but you do things beyond that too that I think are so important to mention. So, welcome to LinkedIn Live.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, as a money coach, well, first and foremost, yes, as Ladies Get Paid, I'm a pro member, so a plug for that, being a pro member with Ladies Get Paid. We talk a lot about women and money and really how that sets us up for success. And as a money coach, a big part of that when we're talking about predictability is taking the surprise out of our money. Now, I am the first one to say I love surprises, like birthday surprises, presents for surprises, a surprise going out to eat. But when it comes to our money, we just have to eliminate the surprises to set us all up for success. So as a money coach, I'm on a mission to do that, to eliminate the surprises and to get us just in this really comfortable space with our money.
Mm-hmm. Do you also want to talk a little bit about the accessibility work that you do?
I would love to. So I am a money coach 50% of my time, and the other 50% of my time, I'm a sign language interpreter. So if you notice me talking with my hands, that is why. And I'm a really big advocate for accessibility, not only in interpreting, but also in professional captioning. And so after this live is done, I know right now, if you're watching it on LinkedIn, it would be automated captions. But Claire and I are going to get this all spiffed up with official captions, and it will get added back later. So just to let you know that piece.
Thank you. So, for creating predictability with your money, where can people begin?
First and foremost, we have to know our numbers. So a lot of times, and when I say that, sometimes people freeze and they think, oh, she's going to force me to put together this budget that's this extreme line item, detailed budget. I want to assure you that that is not what I mean. It can be if that's the way you like it, but just knowing our numbers means we understand what's coming in and we understand what's coming out. A lot of times people live paycheck to paycheck, but don't know it. And they'll have an idea of what's going out, but not really know, can I pay, like, if an extra expense comes up, and not really have a full picture. So first and foremost, I would say knowing your numbers is what's gonna start you off in that eliminating surprises trajectory.
Why do you think people resist? Or I guess I'll speak for myself. I've resisted knowing my numbers. Why, like in your experience, have you found that to be true? And if so, why?
Yeah, I have found that to be true. It's scary, right? It's to have to look something in the face, to confront what you're feeling. Sometimes people will say, I feel like I just can't get caught up. I'm always chasing the money instead of letting it flow. And that is scary. What if you find out that you are living paycheck to paycheck and just didn't know it, or that you are spending more than you thought you were, or you've got more going out than you've got coming in, or you charged more on that credit card than you thought you did? I would say the number one reason for that is fear. And sometimes it's hard to just say, okay, I'm ready. But you have to be in a space where you are ready.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you have any apps or anything to make it easier for people to find where all their stuff is at all?
Yeah. Almost any budgeting app these days. So previous to apps being like the number one thing to use, well, and maybe if you're not even like, you want something tangible, like, here we go, you could just write it out on a piece of paper. But for apps, when they connect to your bank account, it will pile in a history for as long as you want the history. So my recommendation is to always take a peek of at least 2 months of what your budget looks like, 2 to 3 months, right? Because sometimes 1 month can, you'll have one-offs or whatnot. So just looking at one won't give you a full picture. But if you at least go 2 months back, and then these apps, you create whatever categories you want. You can create 100 categories, or you can create 3. You could say, what are my requirements, like my mortgage payment or a car payment or a debt payment? You could say, what are my needs, such as my utilities, etc., and what are my all the other things? So you can create a huge list of categories, or you can create 3, and then by categorizing transactions, boom, right then and there, you'll be able to see what your numbers are for the last 2 or 3 months, which will give you a great idea of where you're at.
Okay. Oh, great. So for anybody who's feeling really overwhelmed by trying to find where all of their money is and how long and to go back, you're saying just the last couple of months is fine.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. And any budgeting app like Mint is free, YNAB's a good one, Monarch is a good option. All of those will connect to your bank account, and they'll spit in a history. Some apps will let you say how much of a history you want to see. Others will just kind of, bring in the entire last year. But yeah, that's a really great, easy place to start if you're not interested in tracking by hand over the next couple of months.
Okay, awesome. So I know that you mentioned sinking funds. Okay, so planning
Yeah.
for quarterly and annual costs. And also, there's a lot of types of costs that people tend to forget about. So tell us what those are and how we can make sure to keep them top of mind.
Yeah. So sinking funds is a little bit of an industry term. A good friend of mine, she calls them choice funds. So you have the choice when to use them. I kind of like that. It's a little bit of a fun, playful way. But it's essentially setting up either one savings account or several savings account. And each month you're putting money aside to cover those sporadic expenses. So let's say your car insurance you pay for every 6 months. Well, that doesn't have to be a surprise every July and whatever, it can be something that you're saving for. And then when that bill comes due, it's right there in that sinking fund, ready to pay off that expense. So I really encourage spreadsheet or writing down, what are all of those things that you have come up on a quarterly basis, biannual, annual basis, whatever it is. And I'm talking everything from the car insurance to vet bills to birthday parties. Like, what are those things that happen sporadically enough that it could potentially cause a hiccup in your cash flow if you're not prepared for them?
Mm-hmm. How much should you be setting aside?
So what I did for myself, I just have a spreadsheet that I keep, and I look at the total amount, and then I divide that by 12, and then I just transfer that every month into a savings account. So I think for my sporadic funds, I have like $300 a month or something that I'm setting aside. And I just keep a list so I know which month they're coming up and what the total is. And I look at it every 6 months to a year to look to see, does that still seem about right? Or is there a new payment that I've added that I need to keep my eye on?
And do you have any recommendations for which accounts, because I know depending on the kind of account, there could be a penalty for, taking out the money.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
curious. And also if you recommend that people have different savings accounts based on the different goals
Yeah.
or items that they might be, getting, they needing to take their money out for
Yeah.
versus all in one place.
Yeah, that's a great point. So these sinking funds are a good opportunity for a high yield savings account. I know that that's a little bit of a buzzword right now, but especially with all of the interest hikes that we've experienced, maybe you've seen that on the credit card end or on the loan end where you've had to pay more interest. Well, on the plus side of that is we get to earn more interest on our savings accounts. So if you open a high yield savings account, I know, for example, Ally, Wealthfront, they allow you to create buckets inside of that account. So if you're transferring, let's say that $300 a month into that account, you can allocate which category you're putting that towards. So if you want to create a category for every single one of those sporadic items, you certainly can. Or if you just want to keep it in one lump sum in a savings account, you just need to keep a note of that somewhere, maybe a notes app on your phone or on a spreadsheet to know how much you have set aside for each specific item in that account. But having at least a separate savings account for that is highly recommended.
And then do you automate? Oh, and by the way, for those asking, oh, can you just tell me what the app was again? Melissa's actually going to jump back into the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn page, and then underneath the recording, she's going to include both links to herself as well as any resources that she mentioned. I know that we're simultaneously screencasting on other channels besides LinkedIn, so if you are watching it elsewhere, come on over to the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn page for that. But yeah, do you, any kind of like hacks make it easier to just save money? I'm assuming, are you automatically deducting it from your, well, you work for yourself, so I don't know. How does that work in
Yeah.
terms of like making it easy for yourself to just automatically save money?
Yeah. Working for yourself, you can still set up an automatic transfer. So you go to the institution where you have your savings account. And again, the one that I mentioned, Wealthfront, Ally, ALLY, you can set up automatic transfers from your own checking account. So when you kick those over, instead of it coming out of a paycheck, it's just automatically coming out of your account. But we know that automation is the number one way to save successfully. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But yes, absolutely. Having that kick out at a certain time each month is highly recommended.
Okay, awesome. Good to know. What about setting aside, because this is something that you wrote in when you told me kind of what you wanted to focus on. You said we can talk about setting aside money on above average inflow months to cover below average months, or the importance of an emergency fund. Do you feel like we kind of just covered that, or is there anything you want to add to that part of the conversation?
Well, I do want to add, especially for self-employed folks or maybe folks who get bonuses and have a windfall, a lot of times when we have those high income months, we get so excited and we're like, yeah, like this was such a big month. And not to take away from that, because that is very exciting. But then sometimes we get so short-sighted that we forget that sometimes there's lulls. And I'm sure you know that as a business owner, like some months you've got a big boom in income and other months you're like, hello? And anyone out there? And if we don't try to flatten that instead of experiencing this, we've got to try to flatten that. So on those months, sure, treat yourself to something if you want. I'm not saying that you can't do that, but I'm also saying we can't forget about the dips and really understanding that setting some aside during the high months will create that stability and, again, eliminate the surprises.
Awesome. I see on your website, you talk about creating an effective budget and finding your perfect style. Would you give us a little more, give us some of the details on that?
Yeah, happy you asked. I am a firm believer of having a spending plan. Understanding money management is not a one size fits all. as I kind of alluded to at the beginning of this conversation, sometimes people really want a very detailed list of what's going out of their account. They want to know how much they're spending on groceries, how much they're spending on going out to eat, how much they're spending on clothes, and they just want to know everything, and that's fine. But you have to know your personality, because sometimes you'll get inside of a budgeting app or you'll download the newest spreadsheet, and all of a sudden it's asking you to do all of those things, and you're like, huh? And it just kind of puts you in this like, I'm going to not even try that mode. And so I really encourage folks to take a peek at some other options. So one of them is a 50-30-20, meaning if you're looking for a ballpark of where to start, 50% of your budget can go toward those essentials, those things that you're required to pay off. 30% can go towards those things I want, and 20% can go towards savings. So really maybe just giving yourself some guardrails. So that's one option. Another option is a calendar. So if you do get paid, let's say you get paid on the 1st and the 15th of each month, on a calendar, you would document, I've got this much money coming in on the 1st, this much money coming in on the 15th, write out everything that you need to pay for, that you're required to pay for during that time frame, and then you'll know how much you have left. And then do the same thing on the 15th. So the calendar option is a good one. And then for all those folks who are what I call my anti-budgeters, it's called the one number. And you can indeed take everything that you know that you're required to pay for, deduct that from how much you have coming in, and then everything else is just in one lump sum. So all you have to do is keep an eye on that one number and know I've got $2,000 that I can spend on whatever I want this month. And then you can either keep track of that or you can have it in a separate checking account or whatever. And so that's the only number that you really have to keep your eye on. So there are a variety of different spending plan options. And so that's why I think it's so important to find what matches your personality. And if you try one and you don't like it, try the next one. See what happens.
I think that's so important, just because, you read a book and an expert said to do this, or some influencer was doing it and it worked for them. Keep that in mind. It worked for them. We are all different. Question about emotional predictability, which is, I don't know if that's possible, but there's one thing about having, consistent income or not consistent income, but at least having a sense that you're covered, right?
Mm-hmm.
But numbers, to me, at the end of the day, they're not as important as how we feel about the numbers, because sometimes you can have enough but still be in that scarcity mode. So I'm curious, in your experience, whether it's your personal experience or with clients, how do you help kind of ride the emotional roller coaster of financial, either lack of predictability or at least the feeling like there's some lack of predictability?
Yeah. Have you ever read The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist?
No, but I saw that was on your site. And and again, everybody, who's asking for what are all the names and recommendations, all going on the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn page, or LinkedIn page underneath the recording. So tell us this book again, The Soul of Money.
The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. Okay. And what I love about her writing and her view, she makes it very clear that scarcity mindset is not our fault. It is forced upon us by the society in which we live. Every time there's an advertisement for the newest phone or the newest gadget or the this or the that, it's like it throws us into this tailspin of, I've got to have it, I don't have enough. Even from things like people wake up and they're like, I didn't get enough sleep, or I didn't get enough done today. All of that is scarcity mindset. All of that is a flurry of what we experience every single day. So I first just want to recognize that scarcity mindset is real, and it's not something that you should fault yourself for, but recognizing it is the first part of it, to say, okay, I'm feeling a little anxious right now. I've got some things going on, and just label it. That's scarcity mindset. And now let's talk about how to get yourself through it. Because in reality, if you've got a plan, you've got goals that you're working toward, You've got things in motion. We just need to flip the script on it. So whatever that scarcity mindset is saying to you, let's figure out how we can flip that script. So let's say scarcity mindset is saying to you, like, I don't have enough money coming in this month. Well, if you look at your numbers, what if you really do have enough money coming in this month? Then you can just flip the script. I have plenty of money coming in. I can rest easy. And just having that shift, and I don't know, just that shift in your body. I don't know. I assume you felt it before, right? When you have to like talk yourself off a ledge. Have you experienced that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll kind of just jump in real quick though on this, because I find when I try to flip the script so quickly, I fight it because I don't believe it, right? And so if I actually just validate what I'm feeling as a protection, right? As a mode of protection, instead of like, it almost gets me out of the combat mode that I'm in with myself and my money. And instead I like all of a sudden get on my own side. You're feeling scarcity as a way of protecting yourself from scarcity, and what's the point of this? What could be the purpose of this? And where can we get to like a place of action? And maybe the place of action could be, well, the anxiety is here so that, to ask me, have I done due diligence, like with my money? Do I truly like know where all my, like, have I really created the plan? Have I truly explored, my income, and can I increase my prices? Like, the stress and anxiety might actually be serving a functional purpose, but it is on us to find that function, which then requires action. And because I sometimes find with like mindset shifts, I just don't believe it. So when I get out of my mind and into my action, right, that then gives me purpose, gives me the plan. And then there's also, obviously people who, it's not just a scarcity mindset, like there truly is scarcity here. Like they are in serious debt, et cetera, et cetera. That's where you have to go, you know what's most important is my actual moment to moment and day to day. And chances are you're actually probably okay. So, it's like trusting that you've looked at the bigger picture, but that you also should stop looking at the picture. Like, don't looking at your debt, that's not your day to day.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And just for everybody listening, that this is a perfect example, because Claire's saying, I can't flip the script immediately. I can't do it because I try to do that and it throws me into nope, I don't believe that. Whereas I need to flip the script immediately to get myself into a calm space and then look at what my plan is. So again, money is so very personalized that we have to take the tools and test them out, right? Test it out and see. And if you try to flip the script too early and you're like, oh, whoa, that didn't work for me, then, go with Claire's approach and say, I've got to take a step back. I've got to look at what is my plan? Where am I? What are my action steps? Get myself calm, and then flip the script. And then you can move forward from there.
Yeah. There was a question I'd asked you earlier when we were talking about you joining the LinkedIn, and it was about just kind of the fundamentals of becoming your own biggest champion, right? In work, money, and life. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read back to you what you wrote, and then I would love for you to dig into it. So you said, one of the fundamentals of becoming our own biggest champion is having readily available tools to ride momentum when it happens, or pull us out of a funk when we start to spiral. We've all ridden a momentum wave or hit a rough patch. And if we are searching for tools while it's happening, our energy gets drained quickly. I adore this. I totally agree. Tell us more.
I have this image of myself when I first started my own money journey. I graduated from college. I got my first job. It was an interpreting job. And I am sitting on this green couch with one of my colleagues. I'd gotten, I don't know how many paychecks at this point, but it finally hit me that I was not making near enough for the lifestyle that I was living. And I was bawling my eyes out. And it's like I couldn't see through the fog. And it wasn't until a colleague of mine, who I don't know if this is the right timing, probably not, but she like shoved a budgeting book in my face, and I love her dearly for that, because it gave me a tool. It gave me something to focus on. It gave me motivation. And why I wrote what I wrote is, in the midst of that spiral, you can't see anything except for what's like 1 second in front of you. So we've got to have the tools ready, our toolkit, know what our plans are, what we're looking for, what type of action we want to take. So that way, when we start to spiral, or when we're like on a high and we're just like riding it, we're like, oh yeah, wait, what tools was I planning on using? Just so you can have your arsenal like packed and ready, because our emotions, when they take over, it's really hard to be searching for tools in that state.
In the last few minutes, well, actually, before I have you share any final words of wisdom, there was a question of, do you have any recommended apps or software that allows budgeting and money management with a partner? My husband and I have had a hard time finding a program that allows access for more than one computer, which is making me realize if there's anything you want to speak to in regards to kind of creating predictability with your money in a partnership. That is a larger topic in and of itself. If there's anything you want to speak to on that front, go for it.
Yeah. So I will, there's a couple that I'm thinking of, so I will kind of add more to that comment later. But the one right off the bat that I'm familiar with is YNAB, YNAB. That's what I personally use. That's what we personally use in our home. And that allows 2 users to be able to function off of one system together. It is a paid service. Oftentimes when you get a paid service, they'll reduce how much it is if you pay for the full year, so they'll be like, you get 2 months free if you pay for the year. Don't fall for that right away.
Okay.
Pay monthly for a couple of months to test it out, to see if you like it first. And then if you're like, oh yeah, this is it for me, then go ahead and buy the monthly subscription, because savings are good. But to commit to something upfront before you know if it works for you and your family, just a little note of caution. But yes, I will. There's a couple others that I will add to the chat once I can grab all of my tools.
Any final words of wisdom before we have you tell everybody where to find you, follow you, and most importantly, pay you?
Yeah, my whole goal, like I said, is let's get surprises out of our money so that we can just cruise. We want to feel light and airy. I've been using this phrase, like, I want to feel like I'm getting a hug from my money, right? I want to open my bank account and I want to feel great. I want to be working on my budget and I want to feel great. Mm-hmm. And as we know, with a lot of statistics, money is still a number 1 or number 2 stressor for folks in the United States. And so we have to constantly be figuring out how we can make those adjustments to reduce that stressor from our life.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Find you, follow you, and pay you. Melissa, you're fantastic.
Thank you. I am most active on Instagram @_Melissa Mitt. And I've been trying to give my blog some more life. So I've been fairly active on that. melissamitt.com/blog.
Awesome. And as a reminder, everybody, Melissa will be popping back into the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn page underneath the recording to put all of her links and the things that she mentioned. And we're also going to dig into the captions and see if we can get something that's a little bit better than maybe what LinkedIn automatically put, if they put anything at all, since we're using StreamYard right now. Melissa, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing this really important message. I really love your style, the way that you do this. It's so important. And I think something that, I really took away from here was just that underscoring of like, money is so personal. And so you got to find what fits for you. So if something's not working in this moment, doesn't mean you're bad at money. It just means you got to keep finding your people, your resources, and trying new things. And it's all an experiment anyway. So
yes, it is.
Appreciate
Thanks
you.
so
Appreciate everybody
much.
watching. Now go get paid.
Appreciate you.